I'm Carly Fleischer of Kicks by Carly, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber. Sidearm whip. Scores. Now it's one. Fidel scores. Hands off for Rabel. Switches hands and scores.
Kylie O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson.
Welcome to Pro Lacrosse Talk, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we're bringing you interviews with your favorite players and coaches, as well as news from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. Today we have another guest in our creator series, Carly Fleischer, the owner of Kicks by Carly, a company that specializes in creating custom gear for professional athletes. Carly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I know we've been talking about getting you on and doing an interview, and then as well as doing an article just on how you got your business started. But yeah, let's go all the way back to your high school days. You grew up on Long Island in the town of Cold Spring Harbor, home to the likes of lacrosse players like J.J. Albert and Adam Gittleman. And then you attended Syracuse and majored in sports management, where you immediately started Kicks by Carly. How did your business originate, though, and what gave you the impetus to start?
Yeah, I actually started Kicks by Carly the first month of my freshman year, so it was September of 2014. And I really started off like hand painting Vans sneakers when those were like the big trend, and I started off doing my own pair, so I did like all different sports teams and stuff that I like on it, and then literally as soon as I walked out of my dorm room, people were asking for pairs, and people wanted like tailgate themed pairs and all different things, and just kind of putting different things on them that were trendy at the time. And then from there I kind of eventually started making like custom tailgate apparel and college clothing. I made a bunch of different designs for a bunch of like big spirited schools, and a lot of those designs are actually officially licensed and sold on a bunch of different college campuses. So that's kind of how I got my start with that.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know about the licensing. That's pretty cool. How did you make that connection with the universities? Did people just reach out to you, or did you, kind of do the groundwork yourself?
Yeah, it was kind of a combination of people reaching out to me as well as working with a bunch of my professors who had a lot of expertise in the industry and were able to help me with that type of stuff. Awesome.
That's great. And then, you connected with a lot of athletes. I know, you particularly had a lot of friends who played lacrosse, both, in high school and in college. And you were an athlete yourself. You did track and field in high school. How do you think being an athlete yourself kind of helped you connect with other athletes?
I definitely think it's kind of a mindset thing. Like, I was always super competitive, and I also played soccer as well, so I understand the team side of things. But I think even doing track and field, I was a pole vaulter, so it's kind of a big competition just with yourself. It's not like you have anybody else to depend on, like, oh, we just didn't make the plays that we needed to, we weren't aggressive enough. Like, it all falls on you. Mm-hmm. So especially with things like that, I feel like it's a lot of mindset and being able to think differently and kind of adapt and make changes where necessary.
I'm sure, too, like starting your own business took a lot of, that athletic mind in, being a self-starter and, putting in the work. So I'm sure that was probably, something that you probably take pride in.
Definitely. And I mean, growing up, I was always like putting the extra work in off the field or whatever, all that type of stuff. And trust me, like, I'm not going to say I didn't go out and party a lot at Syracuse. I obviously did, but it was, I guess, all of the time spent like outside of that and like staying up till 3, 4 in the morning just working on things and making sure my website looks good or creating new designs and different stuff like that. And that's kind of still how I go about my days. Like, there are days or weeks that I get like 2 hours of sleep a night because I'm just up all night working on gloves, and I don't stop until things are perfect or until I really like the way that they turn out. So that's definitely like a big aspect of it too.
Yeah, well, it's important to have that strong dedication to your craft, and it's obviously, brought you a lot of success as well. And, you incorporate a lot of airbrush in your designs, but you actually told me that you didn't learn airbrush until about last year. What got you interested in learning that technique, and how have you really perfected your art over the time?
Yeah, I took one airbrush lesson in the fall of 2018. So I kind of wanted to get started because I watched a lot of YouTube videos of guys who do like custom painted cleats for NFL players, like a lot of the stuff for like My Cause, My Cleats and things along those lines. And I was always so interested in it. So I watched a ton of YouTube videos, and then I told my dad, I was like, I got to take the lesson. We got to get an airbrush, and I'm just going to start. And, of course, I take the lesson, and they're like, okay, start small, like practice on paper, all of this. And then it was literally 2 days later. I was like, I ordered a pair of cleats, Dad, and I'm just going to start. And he was like, Carly, like, listen to what they told you. And I was like, no, like, I'm just going to do what I want. And I did it, and they came out good, and it's just kind of all spiraled from there.
You know, sometimes it just takes, taking that initiative and just diving headfirst into it to, really get good at something. So I appreciate that and admire that. And then, you did your capstone with the New York Lizards, and you kind of, got in touch with some of these players on the team, and you eventually connected with Jules Heningburg, on his custom gloves, and kind of took off from there. But was it difficult to kind of step out of your comfort zone and connect with these professional athletes?
Yeah, it was definitely really easy when I was working for the Lizards because a lot of the front office staff was a little bit older, so it was easy for me to connect with the guys who were like closer to my age, and they were definitely more interested in talking to me than somebody who's like 50 years old and doesn't understand what they need or want or whatever the case may be. So it was definitely easy for me to like form friendships and become friendly with a bunch of the players. And then I guess just from there, I guess I would say I gained like a lacrosse following on Instagram, and people kind of knew who I was, and they would see that a bunch of the pros followed me. And this was like even on my personal account before I was doing gloves and cleats seriously, but so they kind of just knew who I was from there. And then as soon as I started doing gloves and shoes and cleats and more professional athlete tailored things, they kind of were all on board and really supportive about that as well.
That's awesome. And yeah, I think my first exposure was your Juke Lab gloves for Jules Heningburg that he wore, in the PLL this year. I thought, those looked great. And then you told me, too, that after that you started getting calls, I think, from Jarrod Neumann, and I think you did cleats for Gurenlian. So let's, discuss how you connected with those athletes this summer, and then your biggest, most recent news of your partnership with Epoch Lacrosse. How did that partnership come about?
Yeah, so for the most part, I was trying to determine what athletes I thought would be a good fit for my stuff. And one of the things that the PLL does so well is that they promote their players and their individuality and being creative and everything. So I thought that this was really a good place for me to showcase my stuff and allow a player to tell their story through cleats or gloves. And initially I had spoken with Jules about doing cleats, and we kind of hit a wall, and we hadn't really decided anything that we definitely wanted to move forward with. And then as soon as he signed with Epoch for his partnership, we started talking about doing custom gloves, and we kind of told his story of who he is as a person and all these things that like got him to this point. So his gloves had like the Rutgers logo on it, New Jersey, and just all these little things about him, and it was so subtle that you wouldn't realize it from afar, but when you look closely at the gloves, you see all these like tiny little things, and that's kind of what we wanted, was like all these little details that build up and make a full person or make the gloves look how they look. And then from there, Jarrod reached out to me. He wanted gloves after that, so we did a Bomb Squad theme for him because that was like the big trending thing at that point of the summer, and we included all the names and numbers of the Bomb Squad and kind of just made it all about them and their camaraderie together. And from there, I just kind of started speaking with the people at Epoch. I actually met the CEO at Championship Weekend, so that was awesome. And we just had always been in contact since then, and just formed this partnership where I'm doing a lot of custom work for them and a bunch of different partnership stuff. We actually have a bunch of giveaways coming up soon. One is actually, I think, going live tonight. So hopefully everybody listening will enter all of those giveaways and see if you can get your hands on a pair of custom painted gloves.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. No, we've spoken with James on the phone, and he's just been great. He's helped us out with our fantasy lacrosse thing that we're doing, here at Pro Lacrosse Talk. So you can just tell that Epoch's, very innovative in their thinking and their partnerships, and it's great to see you partnering with them and doing such great work with them. I know you talked a little bit about starting your business right off the bat, and I know you've also put out on social media that sometimes people have doubted like the viability of your business and stuff. So who has really influenced you to ignore those doubters and keep pushing through?
Yeah, I mean, there were a ton of people who through college and everything would say, like, I can't believe you're running your own business. Like, it's just not going to be successful. Maybe it'll be like a fun side hustle through college and stuff like that. And I mean, it definitely was, but now that I'm starting to focus on it more full time, it's definitely like a viable option to keep doing, and I'm trying to make it a full-time living. So it's definitely a lot of work, but again, I think that kind of comes back to that athlete's mentality of just kind of persevering, and when somebody tells you that you can't do something, it almost makes you want to do it more and prove them wrong and just silence all the doubters or critics.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's kind of, an entrepreneurial type of mindset too. You kind of see similarities from an athlete's mind to an entrepreneur's mind as well. And I think that's kind of what you are too, in starting this business and making all these connections with so many people in the sports world. And, we hope it continues to grow and maybe, extends beyond lacrosse. I know you're a big Islanders fan as well, so maybe, you get into some of the hockey realm. I don't know if that's something on your radar.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm literally watching the game right now as we speak, so definitely on my radar, and would love to work with hockey players especially, but other sports would be so fun. I know somebody who is like really into the custom sneaker game is Clint Frazier on the Yankees, who I'm also a big fan of. So he's like really big on the sneaker game, so I've been trying to get connected with him, but we'll see. I think there will be a break into another sport sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We wish you the best of luck. My final question for you, we pose this kind of for the athletes on our show. We tend to ask them what some advice they have, for people that want to be professional athletes one day. But for me, I'll ask you, what is some advice you have for someone interested in creating, a business like yours, where it doesn't have to be specifically creating custom apparel, but any business. Like, what's some advice you have for somebody that is thinking about starting their own business? What would you tell them to get them motivated to starting it?
I feel like it's very cliche, but I would say just go for it. I really didn't have anything figured out at all. I had no business plan when I first started. I really had no idea what I was doing. I kind of just got out of control from when I first started painting sneakers, and it just spiraled from there. When I first made my own pair, I had no intention of doing it as a business, and it kind of just went from there. So I say just dive in and figure it out along the way. That's probably not the best way to go about it. I mean, maybe having a business plan or some plan of action is a good idea, but honestly, if you feel passionate about it, I say just start.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's half the battle, I feel like, sometimes, is just starting and, like you said, just kind of putting the blinders on and just going in and working hard. And, even if it, means working till late in the night and only getting 2 hours of sleep sometimes, if you're really passionate about something, that's what you need to do. And, you'll kind of find that if you do truly feel strongly about doing something, it's all worth it in the end. So I think that's some great advice, Carly. Carly, this has been great. Remind people where they can find you online.
You can find me at Kicks by Carly on Instagram. My website is kicksbycarly.com, and yeah, that's basically it.
All right, well, thank you again, Carly, for coming on. Best of luck with the business, and we look forward to seeing what Kicks by Carly has coming up.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. We've been using Anchor for our podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast so it sounds great and send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Better yet, they connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're interested in starting a podcast, download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code lacrosse today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today.